And welcome to the December 4th Pinellas County Board of Adjustments and Appeals hearing. We've received your cases in advance and have studied them, and in some cases visited the sites. Please understand that we do not bring these cases. We are citizens tasked with weighing the evidence submitted in order to make the most informed decision possible. We have no personal interest or stake in these cases except the overall good of the community. Staff has made recommendation on each case, and that recommendation is input only and may not necessarily be the opinion of the board. If you are planning to speak for or against any application, you must first be sworn in prior to testifying. If you have not yet been sworn in, please do so now with the clerk at the right front table. And this is how we will proceed. When your case is called by staff, the applicant should come to the podium and give us your name and address. The applicant will then present their case, including comments from any supporters in attendance. Comments by supporters should be new information, not just an expression of support. The applicant may display the volume of support by a show of hands, and each speaker will have 3 minutes. Opponents will then be given the opportunity to state their objection. If there are numerous opponents, it is preferable that they select 1 or 2 spokespersons to speak, and they will have 3 minutes as well. Any subsequent objectors should add new information and not just rehash prior stated objections. Opponents may also display the volume of objections or objectors in the audience by show of hands. This will be the only opportunities for the opponent to state their side. The applicant then will return solely to rebut the comments of any opponents and may not bring any new information or testimony at that time. And then finally, we will close the public hearing and the board will discuss the case, make a motion, and vote. And with that, our attorney will provide additional information on our procedures.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The matters heard by the Board of Adjustment and Appeals are quasi-judicial in nature. Please note that only competent, substantial, fact-based testimony or evidence may be considered by the board in deciding the matters before it. Pure speculation or opinion, not based on competent facts, cannot be legally considered by the board. Lay testimony with fact-based support, including but not limited to meeting minutes, surveys, engineering reports, etc., may be considered competent and substantial evidence. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, staff, let's call our first case.
Good morning. Our first case is TY 2-24-09. This is a Type 2 use request to allow for an overflow parking lot in an R1 zone for the adjacent place of worship for the property located at 1220 Espina Court in unincorporated Dunedin. Staff's recommendation is conditional approval. This subject property is currently vacant. It's owned by the Gulf Shores Baptist Church, which is located right next door. Site's approximately 0.4 acres and is located at the corner of Curlew Road and Espina Court. So the Gulf Shores Baptist Church did receive special exception approval in 1997 for their adjacent parcel for place of worship in the RA zone. In 2004, they received Type 2 use modification, their special exception modification, and to expand its existing sanctuary and modify their parking lot layout on their current church property. If this property looks familiar, that's because in September of this year, a request came before the board for the addition of 2 1,056 square foot modular classroom buildings on this property. This request was unanimously denied by the board. The church has come back instead to add a overflow parking area on this property for their church services, which are held on Sundays and Wednesdays, and also for other church functions, special functions when needed. The proposed parking area will be set back a minimum of 10 feet from the southern residential property line. In addition, the applicant intends to install a 5-foot to 6-foot high opaque fence along the southern portion of the parcel to act as a visual buffer for the adjoining residences south of the subject property. Traffic impacts are anticipated to be small. Access will take place through the existing church property, so they're not proposing any additional driveways. Drainage requirements will be addressed during site plan review. Again, staff recommends conditional approval.
All right, thank you. Is the applicant here? Come on up.
Good morning. Sean Cashman, Gulf Coast Consulting, 13825 ICOP Boulevard, Clearwater, Florida. As Michael had mentioned, we were here previously back in September for a proposed portable classroom use, which was denied. Now we're here to request approval for a parking lot. And this field currently is being used by the church for overflow parking, primarily for Sunday services and then Wednesday evening services or functions that they have. We have part of the applicant submittal that we made. We had laid out an actual parking lot with a drive aisle and parking spaces. I know previously when we were here in September, some of the neighbors, primarily the neighbor to the south, had complained about cars parking right up against his fence. That problem will be alleviated somewhat since we do show the drive aisle 10 feet off his north property boundary. There will be a 10-foot wide landscape buffer with a fence and trees per county code. We feel it's an appropriate use for this lot. This lot abuts Curlew Road, which is a state road, and it's a major collector roadway. A lot of traffic goes east and west down that roadway. We feel that this parking lot is probably a more appropriate use than a residential lot at this corner. And again, with a parking lot that has been configured per Pinellas County code, it will be much more functional. We have spaces that will be defined by wheel stops. There will be a drive aisle, and so again, you won't have cars parking up against the neighbor's fence to the south. There will be a buffer. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
I think probably the big question is it going to be a grass parking lot or is it going to be paved?
So we showed the parking spaces to be grass, and we showed the drive aisle to either be gravel or pavement. That's going to get most of the traffic going to and from the driveway from the church. So the parking spaces themselves will be grass, and the drive aisle will be, again, gravel or a paved parking drive aisle.
Sean, if you pave that drive aisle, are you not going to create some site water retention issues that'll have to be addressed?
We will, yes, and there will be a swale along the south. So this is what we envision. We haven't gotten into the design part of it, but there will be a landscape buffer and a very shallow, subtle swale to the south that will convey that drainage onto the church property, and we anticipate there'll be a fairly small, shallow retention area within the church property that will percolate that additional runoff.
Do you know what the anticipated future use is of the southern portion of the church property, the backyard, so to speak, of the church?
Well, right now it's being used for parking in addition to this lot. That being said, I know, and Pastor Tim Delaney is here with me, and he can answer some of those questions as well. I do know that they may have plans for some minor expansion of the building or to place the portable classrooms that we tried to place on this lot a few months ago, position them within the lot as well, which again will reduce some of the parking that they have in that south field area, which will make it even a more critical need to have this parking area within this lot.
I think the pastor wants to speak.
Just to follow up with your question
Yeah.
too. As Sean was saying, yes, we do plan on eventually our current
me.
property.
Sir,
You get your
name and address, please, sir.
Thank you.
Sorry, my bad. Tim Delaney, 1880 Curlew Road, Dunedin, Florida. I'm the pastor at Gulf Shores. Thank you guys so much for hearing our situation today. We are our church is at capacity, and so we have expanded and ministry-wise to meet the need that there is. There's a major need for our church to expand. So we came a couple months ago to see if we can add 2 classrooms on that property. You guys denied it, so we are going to have to move the classrooms to the current property. There is a septic field on that south side, and so we are trying to work around that. We originally had drawings with the modulars on that area. We don't feel like that's the best use for it, so we are still looking at where to put it. So to answer your question, yes, there is going to be future building expansion, which is another reason why we feel like this parking is the first step. And once we get that step, then we can go into our expansion.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Sean, the fencing along the south border, so the neighbor to the south has a fence there, am I correct?
They do, yes.
And you're going to extend that fence? It looks to me like, according to the site plan, you have a 4-foot high opaque fence. The neighbor's fence is 5 foot high, and your fence, is it in a contiguous line with the neighbor's fence, or
It will be,
is
yes.
there a reason why it's lower?
It has to be lower within 20 feet of the right-of-way. It cannot be 6
yeah,
foot high. It has to be
right.
4 feet.
Okay. Is there any plan to fence the western border of this lot? I know it's along the right-of-way, but
We had no plans to fence it along the western border, no. No,
Okay.
keep that open.
okay.
And Sean, to get out of the parking lot, they'll go on the church property to exit or
Correct.
enter,
There's-
or enter?
Yes, there is an existing drive aisle. I don't know if you have the plan in front of
Yeah.
you, but there is a stabilized existing drive aisle from the church, and the proposed parking lot kind of wraps around in a U-shape, circular type
Could you
drive
maybe
aisle.
show
and
it
will-
to us on there? On the,
Put it on the
it's on the logo.
On the
Under
logo.
your
Uh,
folder.
Under your,
Under
under
your
your, under your.
Move your folder.
so I'll help you.
It's
Molly's-
on your
Molly.
phone.
Be
Oh.
left-handed. There you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
There we go.
So here's the church driveway right here. I have some notes on here, sorry. And then this will be the paved or stabilized with gravel drive aisle. And these are the connection points to the existing church drive aisle that has a connection onto Curlew. And then the parking spaces, with the exception of the handicap, we have 3 handicap spaces that we need, since this parking lot will be displacing the 3 existing handicap spaces. Those will be paved with a concrete sidewalk that will lead to the church property.
All right, any other questions? Nope, all right. Thank you.
All right,
And-
thank you.
And anyone in opposition of the plan? All right, come on up. Name and address, please.
Good morning. My name is William Crench. I live at 1242 Espina Court, adjacent to 1220 Espina Court. This is the second time in 3 months it has become necessary to appear before you. The property at 1220 Espina Court is zoned R1 detached single-family home. We knew that when we bought our home, and the Gulf Baptist Church knew that when they bought the property. Since then, the church proposed placing portables on the land, which was denied by zoning. Now they want to build a permanent paved drive aisle and parking lot. They can easily park on the grass or in the large parking lot in the back. Instead, they are here again trying to circumvent the residential zoning. Our neighborhood has 6 houses located on narrow dead-end street, but we are part of Spanish Pine. a development with hundreds of single-family residential homes. You can see at least 81 homes on the TY2-24-09 map were all residential. The church's attempt to add a paved drive aisle and parking lot seems to be another attempt to circumvent the current zoning. There's also a grand oak tree on the property that allows for a balance in the environment because of its massive drip line. Adding pavement or removing the tree would impact and disrupt the current environment, causing major water runoff into our property, which is 5 feet below. Zoning is zoning. No individual or organization should have the right to move the goalpost. We are asking you to please uphold the current zoning to allow us to enjoy the quiet character of our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, for Mr. Crench and the neighbors, this use is allowable within the zoning district as a type 2 use, and that's why this case is here this morning. The Pinellas County Zoning Code provides for certain type 2 uses within this zone, and parking is one of those uses. So if this is not a rezoning, I know it's technicality, but it's not really a rezoning. It's just affirming the ability to exercise the type 2 use of this zoning.
We have no problem with the church parking on the grass. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But I don't think they should have the right to put the pavement, all the asphalt and cement, and destroy the property, take the tree out. That's all we're fighting.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Mary Otardo Crench. As with my husband, I live adjacent to the property in question. When we got the notice for the hearing today, we thought it was in reference to the last time we were here 3 months ago, that the church did not have a variance to park on the grass. So the letter we received said they're looking for a variance for overflow parking. We assumed they meant on the grass, like you had suggested. When I called zoning and asked for more information, we received this blueprint that's certainly not, could we please park on the grass. This is a commercial sort of a thing that they're asking to do on this very residential property. It's hard for us to read it. I'm not really that great at it, but the best we could figure, this is something very permanent, not overflow parking. To speak of overflow parking, the church has a massive parking lot behind them. On Sundays and Wednesday nights, there might be 20 cars on the grass and 10 cars in the rear. Or, the weight always seems to be more cars on the grass area than in the back. So to call it just overflow parking implies that they've already filled their lot in the back and now that's why they're parking in the front, which is indeed not true. On the map that we received on the back of the variance, the TY2409 or whatever, you can see this is part of Spanish Pines. We're Division 5 of Spanish Pines.
You can
It
put,
is
you can
all-
put that down. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, how's that?
So we can see it better.
Any here?
That's good.
Fine, we can see it.
Yep, we can see
Okay.
it.
That's good.
This is all Spanish Pines. Oh, I can see it over here. And we're Division 5. Our little street has 7 lots on it. There's hundreds of houses in Spanish Pines. They're all residential, every single one of them, except Gulf Shores Church. To change our zoning to allow this sort of becoming more or less commercial is like kind of an affront to our neighborhood. It's a quiet street. We're all nice neighbors, everyone gets along. We're not looking to change this whole format of what we have. Again, the church was well aware of what the zoning was on this property. If they need to park on the grass, if they filled their lot, so be it. But we're not looking to change this. We're not looking for it to be commercial. It's a residential lot. We want a home. A parsonage would be lovely, but not a paved parking lot. And as my husband said, the lots are stepped. It's about a 5-foot drop. If you put pavement right next to our fence, we most certainly are going to get runoff. There's like no way in the world that wouldn't happen. So that's another big concern of ours.
Are you getting runoff now?
No.
Okay.
I think the Grand Oak has a lot to do with that. I can show you that. This yellow line is the drip line of this Grand Oak. My house is right here. You know, it's pretty comprehensive. This is the paved parking lot right next to my house. It's not great. It's just not great. So we're pretty worried about it. So as a community, we really feel anything non-residential use of this property is really going to discourage family life, safety, and disrupt the quiet environment of our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have no questions?
No questions.
Thank you.
Michael, if that tree is removed, will they have to make a contribution to the tree fund?
Yeah, the code, so parking lots are required to be landscaped, so there's required landscaping. And then if you remove a tree that is of a certain grade or higher, you're required to provide inch-for-inch compensation somewhere on your property or pay into the tree fund.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Charles Attardo, and I live at 3178 Crescent Oaks Boulevard, Tarpon Springs. I'm the brother of Mary Crench and her husband, Bill Crench, who have the adjacent residential property to the residential property under consideration. I have been asked to read a letter from Mr. Brian Chidichimo of 1243 Espinina Court. He is unable to be here today. Mr. Chidichimo says, when we purchased our home at 1243 Espina Court, we especially liked its location on a quiet residential cul-de-sac and its proximity to the church. We asked our realtor about the vacant corner lot with the massive oak tree, and he informed us that this lot was zoned residential and that eventually the final house completing the original zone plan for Espina Court would be built there. Shortly after moving in, however, we heard rumors that Gulf Shores Baptist Church on Curlew Road had purchased the lot with intentions to build an auditorium. We were told by experts that this would likely not be approved due to the lot's residential zoning. Fast forward to 2024. The church applied to change the land use to place 2 modular units on this vacant lot and to expand their footprint into Espina Court. The residents were feeling distressed over what this change would do to our small dead-end street. We actively petitioned the board to uphold the existing residential zoning and were relieved and grateful when the zoning board appreciated our point of view and ruled in favor of us residents to keep the lot zoned residential and not change its use. However, the pastor immediately stated, "This ain't over yet," and continued his pursuit to expand the church into Espina Court. Photo 1 shows the view from the Crench's house. The vacant lot looks like a beautiful park with its giant ancient oak tree towering over the landscape. We all appreciate the beauty as is, anticipating that someday A home will be built there to complete the street.
One second. This is a view from across the street from Chickachino's house.
Yeah,
Right,
Thank
right.
you.
Yep, we got it.
figured that out.
Yep.
Now, after reviewing the church's new application, we dread what might become of the lot and our neighborhood. Photo 2. Photo 2 shows the lot when the church patrons are parked on the land. We are not happy about this, but want to support the church, knowing that after events, the lot reverts to quiet green space with a large oak tree again. However, the most recent proposal would change this entire green space into a treeless, largely paved parking lot, relocating the main entrance perhaps to Espina Court. We would surely see this parking lot scenario once the lot has been paved with most of the green space and tree gone. Furthermore, we are also concerned about the drainage and runoff. We know if a residential home was built on this lot instead, there would be limitations regarding access and paving. Photo 3. This shows the view from above depicting the entire Espina Court with a cul-de-sac and shows the actual size of the large church lot in back and its official entry exit on Curlew Road. The church's proposed application seeks to move the main entrance at some point to Espina Court, claiming DOT doesn't want the church congregation entering from busy Curlew Road. This doesn't make any sense, as Espina Court is a dead-end and residential street not designed to handle dozens of cars, as seen on photo 2. The church was built off Curlew Road and was always intended to be entered from Curlew Road, not Espina Court. We hope these photos speak louder than words in depicting what could and will happen if the board allows this land use and zoning and a paved parking lot to be built on this lot. This would forever transform our quiet, small, residential road with no chance of the final home ever being built on this lot. We are all fearful that once the church gets approval for the change of land use for a lot they knowingly purchase zoned residential, they will continue to apply for zoning and land use changes until they finally get the zoning change from residential to commercial, thus impacting the entire neighborhood forever. Thank you. Any questions?
I would point out, if you could put picture 2 back up there.
Sure.
In the current undesignated parking use of that lot, you have cars that are parked up against the southern boundary of the lot, right up against what would be the north boundary of the adjacent house of the Crench's house.
Yes.
Under the proposed plan, as has been shown to us, those cars would be at least 30 feet away from the lot line, and they would be parking in the center of the lot, which would seem to me to be actually a better solution than the random parking that is happening now. Just point that out.
If those using the lot follow the way the lot is set up, I would agree.
Well, I mean, it
They're
would-
not following anything right now.
Well, because there is no layout, there's no roadway, there's no designated parking area, so it's random parking. But once you make uniform parking and not random parking, at least it would. I'm just pointing out, it would be less intrusive to that specific neighbor.
Yes.
But I get the bigger message. I understand.
May I say one thing in addition? Because my brother's, he's our surrogate
Yeah.
giving this
Do you have
information.
more family here today, by the way?
Pardon me?
Is there more of your family
Yes,
here
my
today?
sister is here, as a matter of fact.
She's going to speak too? Okay. We have a family limit here.
Right, we're exceeding it, I'm sure. The proposed lot, I'm not sure exactly how many cars are in their proposed lot, But when they have events, there's literally like 100 cars. It's been, and they do have events, and you know, maybe they've outgrown this property altogether. Because say they have 20 spaces in that lot in some organized manner, these, when there's events, there's maybe 100 cars, trunk or treat, fire engines, pony rides, petting zoo, bouncy houses, all happening in this whole giant property. It's not like just nice Sunday. This is like crazy time. Sorry.
There's 29 designated spaces
Right.
shown on this.
Right,
And-
which would be maybe on some Sunday, maybe one thing, but 29 spaces as is right now, if they would all park facing the church, would be lovely. It is somewhat haphazard, but we most certainly do not want a paved parkway. Absolutely not.
We're gonna keep moving along, if you're at time and.
But you got more family here to talk about.
That's right. It's,
And I may say, if I might, that not just family, but my sister asked me to do this. I worked with Renee for several years in the city of Tarpon Springs as the director of community development there, and I've seen all this stuff happen.
I'm sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Good morning. My name is Jean Hand. I'm the mother of Rose Evans and Jerry Cook, who own the house directly across from this lot. And so I am going to read a letter that is from my daughter, Rose Evans.
Can you give us that address?
I'm
The address,
sorry?
what address is that?
The house.
House?
1221
Thank
Espina Court. I'm taking the opportunity to share my views and facts on how this proposed parking lot will affect the quality and quiet enjoyment of our Espina Court neighborhood. Putting a parking lot on the vacant residential lot and changing the use will make it look more commercial and greatly affect the enjoyment and the intent of what this neighborhood was meant to be. Those who bought homes on Espina Court purchased with the knowledge that they were in zoned R1 residential and felt that their home environment and their investment would be protected. If the church bought with the intention of putting a parsonage and a rectory there, we would all be in favor of that. However, on August 26th, the pastor invited some of the neighborhood to attend a meeting. My daughter I attended that meeting via FaceTime at the time, and asked the question, was it the intent of the church to put a parsonage on the property? And the pastor said that that was never their intention. So that was my concern, that they bought an R1 property knowing that they would need to expand and use more property. This change would also invite random people to park there for share rides or people that want to park and congregate or leave their cars there. Any signs to prevent this will further the commercial look of the parking lot. This can also create more noise and disruption. Having this parking lot will provide an opportunity for unintended uses, and it won't be patrolled. Development, any kind, but a house in line with the zoning is unacceptable and infringes on the rights and safety of this neighborhood. Only the church, one owner out of the whole neighborhood, wants the change to happen. I hope this is outweighed by all the rest of the other owners who want to preserve their dream of a quiet residential neighborhood. I would be fine with them continuing to park on the grass on Sundays and Wednesdays with no other changes at all, like asphalt, driveways of any kind, or car stops. Our home is usually our greatest asset. It should be the place where we feel the best, most relaxed, and the happiest. The change in this community could have a long-term impact on our sense of personal security and well-being. You are the protection and remedy. We are depending on you to protect the community's interest as you would for your own homes. Please protect us and do not allow this usage to change.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Pastor Tim again. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Gabrielle Kidikimo. Thank you, Charles, for reading my husband's letter. I live on 1243 Espina Court, directly across from the street. And as last time, this is really, really hard for me to come here because I love my neighbors. We moved here. It took a lot of money and a lot of effort for us to move down here and purchase our dream home, you know, live in that neighborhood. And I love my church. I love my church community. Thank you, Pastor Tim. He's a wonderful preacher, really. You should come and hear him. And a wonderful congregation. And it's really terrible for me to be here. I'm very conflicted. I'm sorry. But I ask you to please, I respectfully ask you to please not change the zoning. And to please not change it from residential to commercial. To please not allow the main driveway to be relocated to Espina, which I now hear that's not planned, at least not for the moment, but that's one of my big concerns. And I please also ask you to not grant the paving. I would like to please ask you to only grant a temporary exemption just for this church's uses only for an overflow parking. No rezoning, no paving, please. The reason is we are really, really worried about the overflow. We're living directly across the street and we are it's like a slope. And I'm not an engineer or anything, but I think that the elevation is about 7 feet above from us. We were lucky in the hurricanes Milton and Helene. We had, thank goodness, only minor damages. But if there's paving, if the tree is gone, I'm afraid this water will rush down and will rush right into our garage and into our house. I mean, I'm having nightmares about this. I'm sorry. I'm not accustomed to hurricanes yet, so bear with me, but it's just terrible. When I first saw this sign, the posting sign on the property, I tried to get in touch with Pastor Tim, and unfortunately it's a very busy time and we couldn't meet. And I then tried at church to talk to one of my friends, and she told me that DOT wanted eventually to, relocate the main driveway to Espina Court, which again, I'm very happy this is not suggested right now. Thank you. And she also suggested I should contact the deacon, who's very knowledgeable about this project. And so I contacted the deacon, but I didn't hear anything. But then finally, on the 24th of September, September, what are we? November, of course, I'm sorry. After our Friendsgiving event, I was able to talk to Pastor Tim and his wife. Thank you so much for that. And he confirmed, and please correct me, I don't want to put words in your mouth, that he wants to eventually change the land usage from residential to commercial. And I understand also to relocate the driveway and to pave. Did I get that right, Pastor Tim?
We do not plan on rezoning it, no ma'am.
That's what I understood when we talked.
Right, it's a type 2 use as we are presenting to the board.
Because when I asked you, he said that in the long run...
We need to keep the things on the record, folks.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I
need to talk to us.
misunderstood.
Yeah, can you,
Thank
You
you.
talk to us.
can you speak this way?
Yeah, talk to
Yeah,
us.
it's hard to hear you.
I'm sorry, I
I think it
didn't
would
mean to
be helpful,
misrepresent you.
maybe, following up on your earlier comment, Mr. Malmsteen, for staff just to restate what this application is, that it's not a rezoning. Or it's I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it's an application for a type 2 use.
That's
allowed
correct.
within this residential zoning category.
That's correct. The zoning is R1, which is a single-family residential zoning. We have uses that are type 1 uses, which are allowed by right. And we have type 2 uses which require this process through the board. We also have type 3 uses which require going to the Board of County Commissioners. This use as a parking lot in an R1 zone is a type 2 use, which is what the application is before you today.
Michael, what determines whether, they said it would either be possibly paved or gravel, and what determines that?
Places of worship are allowed to have 100% grass parking. It has to be reinforced grass. It can be stabilized. It can be grid pavers. It can be gravel. They would just have to demonstrate that it is stabilized, that they are not going to produce runoff. The grass isn't going to die off and rain's going to wash dirt out into the neighbor's property. So they do not have to pave. They use, as long as they use parking wheel stops to designate where the parking spaces are, so as to have a uniform parking and flow with the drive aisles, but it can be 100% as a reinforced grass.
Thank you.
Thank you. May I please also add that Pastor Tim stated they're going to consult an arborist regarding the health of this big, massive oak tree, and they are going to conduct a traffic study. Is that correct, Pastor Tim? We talked about that.
Can you, up this way?
I just wanted to confirm that that's correct, what I'm telling.
We'll confirm with him.
Yeah, because I
Thank you.
don't want to put words in
understand.
Pastor Tim's mouth.
We
Yeah.
understand.
So then, of course, I'm worried about the tree again and the traffic study and the relocation of the main entrance eventually. We're just worried sick about it. I'm very sorry about that.
We understand, thank you.
Thank you. Did you have any questions for me?
We do not.
Thank you so much for listening to me.
Yes. Do we have anyone else?
I do want
you-
to add
I
that.
I have to stop you, you've already had
Okay.
your time. Unless,
Just one quick minute. The concern of my daughter and son would be the looks on the west side. And we do know that cars do use Espina Court and go all the way across the lot. So that also would be our concern in where the entry would be.
understood, thank you. Anyone else providing new information?
Well, the next speaker's coming up. On the revised concept plan, as we're talking about, there is a menu, for lack of a better term, for the parking drive aisle of the different materials that they volunteered that they'd be willing to use. Apparently, I don't want to put words in their mouth, and they can come up and do during rebuttal, but it says parking drive aisle, driving surface to be asphalt, pavement, semicolon, permeable paver, semicolon, geogrid reinforced grass or gravel, semicolon, gravel, semicolon, asphalt millings or other surface as approved by Pinellas County. That's on their plan as submitted to the county. On the church's plan, I should say.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi. I'm Dr. Ralph Cowett. I live at 1575 Braymore Lane, Dunedin. I'm a good friend of the Chittachimos. I realize this is only a conceptual plan, conceptual idea done in the last 6 to 8 weeks, but without a knowledge of drainage abatement, I do have concerns, and hopefully, a little bit of information will guide these concerns. The consultant mentioned a swale and retention area with approximately 0.4 of an acre, or around 20,000 square feet, and with a slope dropping approximately 6 to 7 feet from the northeast corner to the southwest corner. Any change from the way it is now, considering partial paving, or even removal of the oak, which takes up 40 to 50% of the property in coverage, with the sandy soil that helps to dissipate the current situation, even partial paving will necessitate the engineer or designer to install a retention pond that I don't see possible. Looking at the plans, the pond could only be placed on the southwest corner. I see a bit of space on the northwest corner, but since water does not travel uphill, that's impossible. With past experience designing homes and being on the school committee of a school that was 450,000 square feet with a slope of 80 feet, I've got some experience with how water flows. I can show you on this. Is this where I place it?
Yes, we see it.
That according to their plans, even with partial paving and a swale where I put these zigzag lines, I don't see a retention pond being bigger than this rectangle that I put right here without a change in their proposed plans. So I just don't know how that's possible.
So Michael, is the, on the conditions, appropriate site plan review, everything we're hearing about retention pond or flow and the tree, all that is covered, addressed in that process?
Correct. Yes, site plan review gets looked at by our habitat, which is our environmental, which requires for landscaping, tree removal, any, tree mitigation. Our engineering department, which will look at the impervious on there, traffic circulation, and any drainage on the property. They look at, what's current conditions out there versus what's proposed and what the appropriate drainage requirements are.
So while the concerns that, many of the concerns that we're hearing are legitimate, they're premature to this process, because they could become an issue, but it would be at the site plan review step.
In other words, in order to execute this plan, they're going to have to get full permits from the county, and the county will address all of the site drainage issues.
Okay, and
That's
if it's
required.
impossible.
And Mr. Cashin is a Florida registered engineer, so, and I asked that question early on, if you recall, and he indicated that the entire swale along the southeast would direct water over to the existing church property. And actually, if one of the neighbors, I asked the question before, one of the neighbors, the adjacent neighbors, said that they are not currently getting runoff from this site. So if they're not currently getting runoff from this site, and most of what is the improvements are permeable, then the amount of increased runoff would be minimal and could be handled by that swale and directed off the property.
Even with partial paving?
Even with partial paving. But again, that would have to be reviewed by the county in the process of issuing the permit. It would all get reviewed. So we can't make a judgment here based on what may or may not be a site water retention problem. That has to be addressed through the professionals at the county, because we're not professionals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For board members, I'll add that the concept plan is part of the package of what they propose in front of you. So if let's say that it gets approved and the applicant decides they want to make changes, they want to flip the layout, they want to move a driveway around, they would have to come back here for a modification. It's binding where the site plan is. If they decide they want to change things, they're coming back to this
That would
board.
require another hearing?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Anyone else in opposition with new information?
Rebuttal.
All right, come on back up, Sean.
Sean Cashin, again. I just want to address some of the concerns and comments from the neighbors. One thing I heard over and over again, that this is a commercial use. I do not consider this a commercial use. This is a overflow parking lot, grass parking, that is used primarily 2 days a week, Sunday morning, Sunday evening, Wednesday evening for services. Now, they do have special events. There was the one picture of the fire ladder and so forth. They do have some community events, but primarily it's going to be used twice a week, and I consider that a passive use. It is going to be landscaped. We're going to have to adhere to the county code as far as landscaping within islands, the buffer to the south. As Mr. Baumstein pointed out, there is not any proposed parking that's going to be directly adjacent to, is it Mr. Finch? I call him, but William, his property that is immediately to the south. There's a drive aisle there, 10-foot buffer drive aisle, then we have parking. So we were aware of some of the neighbors' concerns when we had the previous meeting, parking against the fence. So based on that, we made a concerted effort to design the parking so there would be no parking directly adjacent to the fence. This parking will be defined by wheel stops. The drive aisle will probably be a different surface. It'll be probably not pavement, but gravel or some type of stabilized surface, because that's going to get most of the traffic.
Do you envision that to be a permeable surface?
I think it will be a gravel type surface, which is semi-permeable. I consider it permeable, but per the code, it's semi-permeable.
But it would mitigate the runoff problem.
It would, because it's going to go right through the gravel to the soil below. As far as the drainage, there's a 1-foot difference from the northeast to the southeast. It's not that big of a drop. The church property, yes, drops off quite a bit. This lot does not. Drainage will not be an issue. The site currently drains, portion of it drains to Espina, another portion to the south property. Some of it collects near the tree, which is lower area. Some of it actually drains onto the church property. If we were to develop this site as a parking lot, we would ensure that none of that drainage would go to the south property. Whatever additional drainage would be routed to the church. Again, a little small little percolation pond that would collect that drainage. So there wouldn't be an issue with drainage. We are not requesting a driveway access to Espina. That is not part of this. Access, again, will be from the church property to a looped parking lot road. And you all have seen the site layout. The grand tree, we just found out this week that the grand tree is a healthy tree. Part of the reason why we put different surfaces for that drive aisle, it was dependent upon that tree. If it was an unhealthy tree in decline, we would have removed it and but now that it's a healthy tree, our intent is to save it. So we might have to put one of the parking spaces may have to be removed, and we'll put a landscape island there. And as far as the grading of the site, we intend to match more or less the existing grades that are there to minimize any damage to the tree roots. Grass parking will more or less match the existing grades. There might be a few elevation differences, but our intent is to save the tree. That may change, but I'm just telling you that that is our intent right now, is to save that tree. As far as random park, there was another comment about random parking and unintended uses of the parking lot. We don't anticipate that. Again, this parking lot is owned by the church. It's being used for overflow parking for a couple days a week, which I consider to be a passive use. You're not going to have cars lined up there every day of the week and being an eyesore to the neighborhood. That's not going to happen. I think that's all I got. If there's any questions, I can answer them.
I have one question. Is there going to be anything from Espina Drive onto the parking lot, like that you can't like, because they're saying they enter that way no matter, no matter what. And I just wonder if there'll be something, not blocking it really, but that will keep them from coming on Espina and driving in that parking lot.
We're not proposing anything right now, but
Landscape buffer.
Landscape,
Yeah,
okay.
There'll be required landscaping
there will be,
along
well,
that.
actually, yes,
trees
there's
and hedges.
hedging that's required along
Perfect.
all paved
Okay.
surfaces.
Okay, good.
So there'll be a continuous hedge there.
Okay, thank you.
Michael. Yes.
Thank you.
That's true.
And on the paving side, the handicap spaces are currently the only thing that shows is paved.
Correct.
Right.
They have to be a hard surface to meet ADA criteria.
Yep. Thank you.
Can you not accommodate the handicap parking on the church property now?
There are handicap spaces that are there right now. They're located where we have one of our drive aisles that are going to serve this parking lot. So we need to. Now, I will say that these handicap spaces here are about 40 to 50 feet away from that tree. That would be, our intent right now, that would be the only hard surface parking area that would be near the tree. That being said, where they're located should not have an effect on the root system of the tree or.
Where's the trunk of the tree? That right there, right in the middle of the drive
I
area.
think so. No, it's,
No, I don't
no,
think
it's
that's
further, it's further over. It's further over.
Where would the trunk of that tree be?
Can you point approximately, it's kind of in the
So,
northwest corner.
We have to get this tree surveyed because it wasn't surveyed on what we have right now. The tree is approximately right there.
Okay, so that's
Right in the middle of your drive area.
It is. And that drive aisle might have to be a one-way drive aisle to circumvent that tree. And those parking spaces to either side will be an expanded median. So we want to keep the same configuration, more or less. And I know there's some flexibility in changing a parking configuration that a type 2 use that we are presenting today. But again, we might have to lose a couple parking spaces, meander the drive aisle, and make that a one-way type of drive aisle access in order to save the tree.
Got it. Any questions? Anyone? No? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, so that's going to close the public portion of our hearing, and we're going to open it up for discussion amongst the board. Comments from anyone?
I think that the proposed parking use, number one, it's allowable, so the arguments, that it commercializes a lot, not any more so than it's currently. Yeah, the church is allowed to park on that lot, whether it's grass or not. I honestly, I go back to the point I made earlier that the cars will be further away from the houses. The way this is laid out, the nearest car to the Kretsch's house on the south is at least 30 feet away or more. There'll be probably less cars on this lot as shown, if the plan is done, than there are currently with the random parking. The tree would be preserved, and I would, honestly, I don't know if I can, but I would make that a requirement that that this design be laid out such as to preserve that tree. Because I think that removal of that tree would change the character of that lot dramatically. Can I do that, Michael? Or Daryl?
It would be easy, legally, it would be easier if they agreed to that condition on the record. Because there is a process in our code and a tree mitigation fund, and they can avail themselves of that process.
Yeah, I know. I want to eliminate that possibility. I would add a condition, if there is a motion, I would want to see that, condition added. But honestly, I just don't see this being more detrimental to the neighbors than the existing parking is. I think it's actually an improvement. I would encourage the engineer and the church to strongly consider using a permeable paving surface, both for aesthetic reasons as well as for drainage reasons. But I'm inclined to go along with the plan.
I think that some of the concerns that we heard from the neighbors address cars on Espina cutting over into the parking lot, some lack of semblance of order as a result of the parking, and I see this plan eliminating two of those things, which is part of what I hear, the consistent concern at the point in the continuum that we are. So those are my comments. I like the idea of the tree. I mean, I'm all for it. Seems to be able to have enough room to work around it, but I'm not an engineer. That's just my opinion on the trees. Anyone else?
Well, and I think the drainage, all those questions, and especially after what we've been through, I understand why they're, everybody's concerned about that for sure. But the county has to go through their whole process with their professionals, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, let me just add, you actually brought something up. On the neighborhood concern side, I know that you feel first it was nothing's going to happen, then it was the portables are going to happen, now it's a paved commercial rezoning, which is not accurate, but it's going to happen. And I sense that you're feeling that the next thing is they're just going to expand the Spina and be an in and out for the church, and I'm not hearing that, and that's not what this case is about. So that would be a separate issue that would have to be addressed. We've got some level of confirmation from the church that that's not the plan, so we have to, as current, take them at their word and feel confident with that. I know they've heard your concerns many times. So I just wanted to add that piece that I sensed that there was this, we're going to keep, from the church's side, by the neighbors, that we're going to keep pushing the perimeter until something falls over, and then we're just going to pop up our tent, for lack of a better description. I don't see that. I think they're trying to bring a resolution to some of the concerns that you have with property that they have, that the code allows for them to do these things. So as painful as that may seem, there's a resolution to some of the concerns that we've been hearing from the beginning. So just wanted to add that piece. All right. Is there a motion?
Question two, we talked about having a motion to save the tree to get their assent on the record. Is that, what is the correct form of that motion, and would be now the time to do that?
So, yeah, in the conditions that are attached, we can add that as a condition. I know that gives Mr. McAteer a little bit of adjective, but
Well, it's just the enforceability of the condition.
I know.
It's always a lawyer's concern.
I know, it's a tree. Yeah,
They agree to it, then I don't have to worry about it.
you don't have a problem with that, do you?
Keeping the tree?
Yeah.
If he's going to agree to it, if he would please come up to the podium. Just-
Yeah, if you,
No, okay, yeah.
let's do it officially and get it on the record.
We would love to keep the tree as is.
Okay, all right,
Thank you.
there we go. Now I feel better.
Feel better.
Yeah.
Got more color in your face.
They've ascended to the condition,
Yeah,
and so if someone wishes to make a motion to that effect,
or else we'll be back here for a tree,
that's,
potentially.
At the risk of enduring the wrath of the neighbors, I will make a motion for the staff's recommendation of conditional approval in accordance with the findings of fact as outlined in the staff report, adding in a third condition that the church will use, that the church will use every effort to make sure that the tree is preserved.
All right, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. That's, did you get the motion in a second? Good? Correct. All right, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nope. All right. Thank you very much. And on to the next one.
before him to sue, he agrees to the tree on the record.
More parking.
I know, that was weird.
What'd you do, save all the R1 parkings for
Yeah,
this
the
meeting?
Type 2s here.
Parking month.
Yes. Our next case is TY 2-24-10. This is a type 2 use to allow for an overflow parking lot in an R4 zone for the adjacent community center for the property located at 1598 Gooden Crossing in unincorporated Largo. Staff recommends conditional approval. The subject site is a corner lot in the Baskins subdivision of the Greater Ridgecrest area. The area is predominantly characterized by single-family detached development with a community center, which is owned by the applicant to the south of the subject property. This property serves as the Tasker Beal Community Center, which provides social services and programs to the area's residents. The applicant is looking to utilize this vacant parcel to allow for formalized parking for the adjacent community center. This would assist with adding parking for meetings and events that occur at the community center and would reduce the amount of legal on-street parking that normally occurs on the street. So this would result in an additional 15 additional parking spaces, thus assisting with the growth of the community center and their future events and improved public safety. And staff recommends conditional approval.
All right, thank you. The applicant is here.
Representative Joe Riddle with the Pinellas County Housing and Community Development Department, 440 Court Street, Clearwater. I'm here representing the Friends of Ridgecrest. They're asking for this overflow parking mainly to take the parking when they have their events off the street. As you see here, it is to the north of the Tasker Beal site. They have 9 parking spots at the community center. When they have their monthly meetings for the neighborhood organization, there's 20 to 30 folks that show up. Largo Youth Football also uses this for their youth meetings, 15 to 20 people. So this additional parking is going to get those folks off the street. The parking coming in, the inlet coming in from the north there on Gooden Crossing is proposed to be closed. We will relocate.
Joe, can I stop you for just a
Yes.
second? There is no opposition.
No opposition,
that
okay.
we see here, and I could get you back on the road and back to the office.
There you go.
I know you've patiently sat
Sat through
through a
that.
lot this morning, so
And
trust
the
me, it's a favor as much as I hated to interrupt you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Then I will
Yeah.
answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you
That was
very
a
much.
great presentation. So,
There is no opposition.
hearing no opposition,
No one
I'm
here.
going to move for staff recommendation of conditional approval in accordance with the findings of fact as outlined in the staff's recommendation.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
You get that, Bomstein, White, similar, just cut and paste. All right, we.
Thanks, Joe.
Yep, thank you. All right, I need a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Move to approve the November 6 minutes as submitted.
Second.
All right, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, same deal. Well done. And we are adjourned. Is that our?
Welcome to the new board members.
Yeah, welcome to the new board.
Yeah,
member.
welcome to the new board members. Jumping in the fire, right out of the gates.
Since we haven't met you, can
Yeah,
you just
tell us.
give us an introduction and tell us who you are, what you do?
That'd be awesome.
Sure. You go first. No, you go first. You got it. You're closer.
So my voice is gone, but I work for Pinellas Opportunity Council. I've been there for 7 years. I do the finance. I'm the finance person.
That's good.
An HR person.
Oh, that's bad.
We need that.
Congratulations and condolences, I get it.
So those are the 2 areas of my expertise, and they throw IT in there too. So if you need that, so most of my background is accounting, and I teach online. I teach accounting and finance. So those are the 2 things I do.
Awesome. Welcome to the
So I'm Jason Holloway. I'm the financial technology policy director for the Office of Financial Regulation for the state. I've served on a bunch of different boards before. I've been on PCCLB for I think 6 years now, so I've had some experience with boards, done statewide boards, worked in the legislature, lots of different varied experience, community involvement, and things like that. So I'm excited to work with y'all.
Great.
Oh,
Where's your office at?
So we have an office in Tallahassee, is the main office, but then we have a local office in Tampa, and then a lot of the work we do can be done remote, luckily. So of course, in-person meetings and all that can't. So Tallahassee.
And you were appointed by which commissioner?
Chris Salvala.
Okay. And Alonda, you were appointed by?
Excuse me, Renee Flower.
Renee?
Okay.
Great. Well, welcome.
Awesome, great. Well,
Good deal.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah.
Stay safe during the holidays.
Stay dry, stay safe.
Hurricane season's over, so